Caitlin Clark. Clark is making her fourth All-Star appearance and leading the league in steals. 6 words. That's all it took for Caitlin Clark to freeze the entire basketball world. Was it a joke that went too far, or a calculated move designed to remind everyone who truly controls the narrative? Social media erupted. The storylines instantly shifted. And the WNBA, long known for careful messaging, suddenly watched a superstar rewrite the rules in real time. This wasn't gossip. This was strategy. This was power. And it was only the beginning. Plum's jab. Clark's empire. Let's rewind to July 2025 in Indianapolis. The WNBA All-Star Weekend was supposed to be a celebration of women's basketball at its absolute best. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed with nearly 17,000 roaring fans. The atmosphere was electric, and the league's biggest stars were gathered in one place to put on a show. But behind the bright lights and highlight plays, something far more serious was brewing. Something that would dominate headlines for weeks to come. Before tip-off, the players delivered a coordinated and powerful message. During warm-ups, they all wore black shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us." This wasn't fashion. This was activism. With the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement set to expire in October, tensions were rising fast. Currently, WNBA players receive around 9% of league revenue, a massive gap compared to NBA players, who earn 50%. Many of these women are forced to play overseas in the off-season, just to make ends meet. The message was clear, united, and impossible to ignore. But then Kelsey Plum spoke, and everything changed. Plum, the Los Angeles Sparks guard and vice president of the Women's National Basketball Players Association, was sitting at the post-game press conference next to New York Liberty star Sabrina Ionescu. What started as a routine media session suddenly became the spark that shifted the entire conversation. The cameras were rolling, the reporters were listening, and Plum decided to share something absolutely nobody had asked for. While discussing the coordinated t-shirt protest, she said, "The t-shirt was just a united front that we decided on this morning after a meeting. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that." She repeated it, adding emphasis, followed by laughter. The room went silent for a moment. Sabrina Ionescu, sitting right next to her, couldn't hide her reaction. She rolled her eyes and shot back sarcastically. That really needed to be mentioned. Even in that instant, you could see the discomfort written all over Ionescu's face. She knew exactly what Plum had just done, and it wasn't good. What should have been a moment celebrating player unity and demanding fair compensation was suddenly hijacked by what looked like a petty jab at the league's biggest star. Caitlin Clark, going head-to-head with the biggest names in women's basketball, without even being on the court that day. And here's where context matters. Caitlin Clark wasn't at the meeting, and wasn't playing in the All-Star game, because she was recovering from a groin injury. She had been dealing with the issue since mid-July, and was at home focused on healing. The idea that she was somehow avoiding shelves. Ticket prices were surging. Expansion fees had jumped from $50 million to $250 million almost overnight. She was the main reason the league was suddenly in a powerful position to negotiate better terms. Yet here was Plum, in front of the entire basketball world, suggesting that Clark and her team weren't truly committed to the cause. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Social media exploded. Fans labeled Plum jealous, petty, and short-sighted. Analysts weighed in, with Colin Cowherd openly roasting Plum for attacking the one player who transformed the WNBA from budget flights to private jets. The numbers backed it up. Since Clark's debut, TV ratings had soared, merchandise sales had skyrocketed, ticket prices had surged, and league expansion fees had multiplied fivefold. Clark was the league's biggest bargaining chip in salary negotiations. Still, Plum chose to publicly target the WNBA's most valuable asset. And Caitlin Clark? She stayed silent. No tweet. No statement. Not a single word. While the internet erupted in her defense and analysts debated veteran resentment toward rookies, Clark quietly went about her business. She let the storm rage around her, while she remained perfectly calm and strategically quiet. This wasn't weakness, it was calculated power. Clark understood something Plum didn't. Sometimes, the strongest response is no response at all. Sometimes, you let your success speak for itself. And when the moment is right, when the perfect opportunity presents itself, then, and only then, do you strike. This is chess, not checkers. While fans defended her online and analysts tore apart Plum's comments, Clark focused on what mattered: recovery, preparation, and building her empire brick by brick. Responding immediately would have made her look defensive. It would have amplified the criticism and validated Plum's remarks. So she waited. She let the backlash do the work. She let others control the narrative. Colin Cowherd roasted Plum on national television. Social media dismantled the logic of attacking the league's biggest draw. And Sabrina Ionescu's eye roll became a viral symbol of just how unnecessary the entire moment truly was. That moment became the viral image that carried the entire narrative. And then, at the exact right time, Clark struck. Just one day later, Kelsey Plum posted on Instagram celebrating All-Star Weekend, sharing photos of herself smiling with teammates at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. The caption was simple: "What a weekend." But Clark noticed something Plum had missed: a massive Nike logo in the background. Plum isn't a Nike athlete. She switched to Under Armour in 2022, even debuting her own WNBA signature colorway. Clark, on the other hand, is Nike royalty. She holds a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal, and according to reports, she's on the verge of signing a massive $28 million contract with the brand. Clark wasn't about to let that detail slide. Her response was just 6 words: "Thank you for the Nike ad." No emojis. No exclamation points. No aggression. Just a razor-sharp, perfectly timed observation, delivered with the effortless confidence of someone who understands her own power. The internet exploded. Screenshots flooded social media. Some fans called it petty. Others called it genius. Sports blogs and podcasts broke down every angle. In 6 words, Clark reminded everyone of her influence, her brand dominance, and her mastery of the business side of the game. Something Plum, despite years in the league, had failed to grasp. That was the brilliance of it. On the surface, it looked like playful sarcasm. But underneath, it was strategic. A subtle yet unmistakable reminder of Clark's position as the most marketable star in women's basketball. Plum had unknowingly handed her the perfect setup, and Clark delivered a knockout punch. Clean, smart, playful, and devastatingly effective. She didn't need to list her achievements, ratings, or revenue impact. 6 words did it all. Plum went silent. No comeback. No clarification. No defense. Weeks passed as the story continued to simmer online. Plum knew she'd been outmaneuvered. Any response would only make things worse. And in that moment, Caitlin Clark reminded the world who truly holds the power in women's basketball. Not through press conferences or interviews, but through timing, strategy, and presence. She showed that dominance in the WNBA isn't measured only in points, assists, or highlight reels. It's measured in awareness, patience, and knowing exactly when to strike, and when to stay silent. With 6 simple words, Clark proved that the future of the league isn't just about athletic talent. It's about intelligence, composure, and total command of both the game and the culture around it. Nearly a month later, in mid-August, Plum finally addressed the situation publicly. Appearing on Sue Bird's podcast, Bird's Eye View, she attempted to walk back her comments in what sounded like pure damage control. "Oh, I made a bad joke," Plum admitted. "I made a really bad joke. Tough one. I honestly was just trying to lighten the room. I was joking that Team Clark was hungover, since that was our team nickname. I didn't mean anything serious by it." She went on to say she regretted that her comment had distracted from the real issue: player compensation in the upcoming CBA negotiations. She emphasized that the players were united, that everyone wore the shirts, and that she never intended to create a narrative of Caitlin Clark versus the veterans. But the damage was already done. This entire saga revealed goes far beyond a social media exchange. It exposed the complicated power dynamics inside the WNBA, a league undergoing unprecedented growth, driven largely by one player's transcendent popularity, while longtime veterans who spent years grinding in relative obscurity now watch the landscape shift beneath their feet. Make no mistake, the growth in the WNBA is real, and it's transformative. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, the league struggled. Viewership was low, arenas were half empty, media coverage was minimal, and the WNBA lost roughly $40 million annually. Despite incredible talent on the court, the league felt like an afterthought. Then Clark appeared, and almost overnight, everything changed. Television ratings doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled. Indiana Fever games became must-watch events. Merchandise with her name and number flew off shelves. Ticket prices surged. More than $2 million in tickets were sold in a single game, an all-time WNBA record. Casual sports fans, many of whom had never watched a WNBA game, tuned in just to see her play. Expansion fees jumped to $250 million as investors finally saw the league's real profit potential. For veterans like Kelsey Plum, who had earned 2 WNBA championships with the Las Vegas Aces and built years of elite-level careers, this shift was hard to watch. Plum is a phenomenal player herself, averaging over 20 points per game for the Sparks, a former number 1 overall pick, 4-time All-Star, and Olympian. She has earned her success through relentless hard work. Yet, she had never commanded the level of mainstream attention or financial opportunities that Clark brought from day one. And that's not Clark's fault. Star power, marketability, and timing matter. Some athletes transcend their sport to become cultural icons. Clark is one of them. While it's natural for veterans to feel some frustration when a rookie immediately eclipses their visibility and earning potential, that frustration shouldn't be aimed at the person elevating the entire league. Here's the truth: Clark's success is everyone's success. Higher ratings lead to better TV deals. More merchandise sales mean more revenue for the league. More attention to women's basketball inspires young girls to play, deepening the talent pool and making the league more competitive. Clark isn't taking anything away from veterans. She's creating opportunities that didn't exist before. Every player benefits, whether they admit it or not. Higher salaries, improved travel, better facilities. All of it stems from a league finally sustainable and profitable, largely thanks to Clark's impact. The WNBA still needs stars like Kelsey Plum, Sabrina Ionescu, A'ja Wilson, and Breanna Stewart. The ideal scenario is one where all players see that Clark's star power creates opportunities for everyone. Unity in labor negotiations is far more important than personal egos or perceived slights. The "Pay Us What You Owe Us" campaign was necessary. Players deserve better pay, travel, resources, and a larger share of revenue. But the message loses clarity when it's paired with public jabs at the league's biggest star for missing a meeting due to injury. Clark has handled this balance remarkably. She's respectful toward veterans, acknowledging the legends who paved the way. She's a team player on the Fever, sharing the ball, celebrating teammates, and keeping the focus off herself. She uses her platform to advocate for women's basketball broadly, not just herself. And when faced with criticism, she responds with silence or subtle humor, not inflammatory words. That's someone who understands that long-term success depends not only on personal performance, but also on the health of the entire league. She wins when the WNBA wins. She loses when the league looks petty or divided. The 6-word Nike comment was probably the closest Clark has come to shade. Even then, it was playful, not mean-spirited. It reminded everyone of her market power without claiming superiority. It demonstrated confidence without arrogance and ended the back and forth perfectly. Any response from Plum would have looked defensive or petty. This is masterclass-level social media strategy. Clark carries herself like a veteran managing fame, even though she's only been in the professional league a short time. Looking ahead, the Clark-Plum dynamic will remain one of the most fascinating storylines in the WNBA. Will it develop into a rivalry built on mutual respect, pushing both players to greatness? Or will the awkward tension and social media jabs define it? The answer depends on how both frame the relationship moving forward. If Plum sees Clark as an ally, not a threat, and Clark continues handling criticism with grace and letting performance speak, both could thrive. If they focus on basketball rather than drama, fans win. Matchups between the Fever and Sparks will become must-watch TV, with fans eager to see how this elite-level guard duel unfolds. This situation highlights a generational shift. A new superstar enters the league with unmatched attention and earnings, forcing the established veterans to adapt. Friction is natural, but so is opportunity, for the league and individual players. Done right, this could be a legendary rivalry, like Bird vs. Magic, Jordan vs. everybody, or LeBron vs. the world. Clark vs. Plum has the potential to define this era of women's basketball, pushing both to new heights while giving fans compelling storylines year after year. 6 words changed the conversation once, but the bigger question remains. How will the WNBA adapt to a world where one player can command attention, shape narratives, and redefine power in real time? Caitlin Clark isn't just playing basketball, she's rewriting the rules. And if this is only the beginning, the next chapter will determine who rises, who falls, and how the league evolves under her influence. The story is far from over, and the game will never be the same.